Yo, what's up? This is Sleep. Welcome back to another video. First off, I just want to address two things. I said I was going to have an Arsenal video out like the weekend of the last video that I put up, and I just got really busy and I couldn't edit it, but it should be up sometime this weekend. I'd get it out tomorrow, but I'm probably going to do a City match reaction tomorrow, blah blah blah. The other thing is that I didn't do any kind of match reaction or any video on the City Porto game in the middle of the week, but I'll probably give some like varied thoughts on that while I'm going over my predicted lineups and stuff for tomorrow's game. And today, of course, I am doing a match preview for the Premier League game between City and West Ham, and overall I think I'm pretty confident, but West Ham have been in some good form recently, and I think City fans shouldn't take them for granted. The team shouldn't just expect a win. So starting with both lineups, I think City's is kind of hard to predict because Pep was being really weird in the press conference. He wasn't really releasing the like updates on who was fit and who wasn't fit. He would mention like some players are out, but in terms of players coming back from injury, he wasn't saying who was fully fit for tomorrow. And I think he's doing this to kind of throw off Moyes. You don't know what to expect, so you might not change your lineup, or you might do something weird because you're expecting Pep to do something like unexpected. But really, I think he's just kind of playing some mind games before the game, but it does make it hard to predict what City are going to do. Against Arsenal, we employed this strange like 4-3-3 that could turn into a 4-4-2 and also a 3-4-3 like system. It was very interchangeable. And then against Porto, it was more of a 4-3-3 outright, a little more attacking. And we started off slow, but eventually seemed more able to create chances than we were against Arsenal. And without knowing what players are available, it's hard to know what Pep's going to decide to go with. I think that Ederson for sure is going to start. He's been brilliant recently. There's a couple of mistakes in him. He's a bit rash in his head and coming out and stuff. But overall, he's just a great keeper. His distribution is incredible, and his reaction time is insane. At right back, this is really tough because part of me wants to rest Walker, and I think he's been playing a lot recently. He shouldn't play every single game because we need him fit, especially with some of the games we have coming up. But you can't really just expect him to be fit, especially at his age. You can't expect him to be fit every single week, multiple times. I don't want him to get injured with all these games stacking up, but I do think Pep really loves him. I love him. I think he should start like whenever he's fit, really. But I'm kind of conflicted over whether he should be given a rest or whether he might play more of a center back role. I think the four defenders I'm going to go with are Ake, Diaz, Cancelo, and Walker, and I'm not sure what order they're going to play in, but those are who I'm expecting to start. If Laporte's fit, I'd say that it becomes Laporte and Diaz at center back, and then you have Cancelo left back and Walker right back, and I think that's our strongest back line generally, but if you want to go a little more defensive, then you'd have Ake instead of Cancelo at left back. But I don't think Laporte is back. I think from what Pep was saying, Laporte is close to being back. He's definitely going to be on the bench, I think, and I think De Bruyne as well will be on the bench, but I don't expect those two to start. I semi-believe that Ake's injury or supposed injury was fake to give him a rest. It's the same thing that happens with Sterling. He always gets little injuries when England duties are called up, and I just think it's like you want to give the player a rest. He just tells his manager or his agent or whatever to like put out a story that like he picked up a little injury and then he just relaxes for a while. I think that's kind of like what happened with Ake because there wasn't any news of it. He just didn't play, and now he seems to be back from injury as if he's been miraculously cured over the past couple of days. But what I expect to happen is we can either, with those four players, go for what we did against Arsenal. You can have Ake at left back and then Walker and Diaz as your center backs with Cancelo at the right back, and have Cancelo and Ake kind of shift their positions while we're in possession and out of possession like we did. But it also gives you the option to just play out like a normal back four. You can have Diaz and Ake at center back, and you can have Walker right back and Cancelo at left back. And I think either version is fine. I think tactically it'll be evident from the opening sort of couple of minutes tomorrow, probably from the lineup, what City are going to do. But once the game starts, I think it'll be clear where everybody's like setting out to play. In midfield, I think Rodri will be the DM. I thought he was really, really good against Porto. I think he was a little clumsy in the opening half, or half an hour maybe. I don't think the whole half. He got a yellow. Seemed very like antsy. He keeps doing this where he gets an early yellow and then he struggles to put in tackles. But I think he still is smart enough and intelligent enough to not quite get himself sent off. He makes good challenges still. He knows when not to do things. But I think he was somewhat at fault for their goal. And I think it was mostly Cancelo's fault for not stepping out of the back line to like meet the challenge. But there also wasn't any kind of midfield cover when Luis Diaz, I think is his name, was running across. But I do expect him to start. I would say Gundogan. I expected to play next to him, but for a couple of reasons, I don't think Gundogan will start. I think it'll either be one or the other. It won't be both of them. That's because statistically, when you play Gundogan next to Rodri, City tend to lose games a lot more often. We don't create as many chances when you're playing those two in midfield. I don't know why that is. They're both decent players. They're both decent at getting the ball forward. Just we don't seem to actually do too much when they're both playing. And I thought Gundogan was really good against Porto, but I think he's been coming back from, I think, COVID. He's even said in an interview recently that he's like struggling for fitness a bit. I think he'll be rested, or if he does start, he'll probably be taken off like an hour, 45 minutes or so into the game. Looking ahead of them, if De Bruyne was fit, I'd expect it to be De Bruyne and Bernardo. But partially because De Bruyne's coming back from injury, and I think Foden was really solid when he came on in his substitute appearance, I'm expecting it to be Foden and Bernardo ahead of Rodri, because Rodri isn't the most mobile, everybody knows that, and they have a decent midfield, West Ham, and they've got youth in Rice, and I think having somebody like Foden, he knows how Rice plays, he probably knows how to get around him. I think it'd be smart to play Foden. And then I think Bernardo has been getting into form recently. I thought he was really good against Arsenal. Didn't do too much against Porto, but I thought our whole team wasn't really attacking down that side too much. And if they were, it wasn't really efficiently because Mahrez was also somewhat out of the game. But I don't think that's necessarily their fault. I think it probably was just something to do with the way the system was, whatever way the midfield was set up. But when Foden came on, he looked lively. He got the assist for the Ferran Torres goal. I thought he looked really good. I think he gave the ball away once or twice a little cheaply, but he is really fast. He works really hard. When he does give the ball away, he runs back for it. And his game has just been developing more and more every couple of months, so I think he should definitely be ready to play against the West Ham side. Front line, I think Aguero is set to start. And if we were just going for our strongest front line, again, I keep mentioning like if everybody was fit and rearing to go, I think you'd go Sterling, Aguero, and Mahrez. But I think it'll be Aguero, one of Sterling and Mahrez, and then Ferran Torres. Again, Ferran Torres looked really good when he came off the bench against Porto. I think you can reward that with a start. Plus, I think Mahrez especially has played like 4 or 5, I think it's 4 of our last games. I don't even know how many games we played so far this season, like 4 or 5, but he's played pretty much every game so far. And I think despite him being really good and like quality, I would rest him a bit. Same with Walker, that feeling I have where I think we should rest him. I don't think Pep's going to rest him, and I could see Mahrez starting again tomorrow. But I think ultimately you should give these players rest. And you can always bring them on. Like, if we're losing or we need a goal or something, you can bring Mahrez on at like the hour mark, give him 30 minutes to run at people with fresh legs. But I think if he plays the whole game tomorrow, he might start to look a little more tired than normal, and his form might start to dip a bit. I think Sterling is slightly more fit, and it could be like a case of you start Sterling and Ferran, and then you take off Sterling at like the hour mark for Mahrez, or vice versa. You like switch them out to give one of them a rest. But I think Sterling's like goal scoring record is like incredible against West Ham. City in general have a really good record against West Ham. I think we've won like our last 9 games. And this is like a really obscure record, but if City were to win tomorrow by scoring 4 goals, I think it'd be the first time in like English top flight history that a team against a single opponent, so West Ham against City, have conceded 4 goals in 5 consecutive league games. And coincidentally, they are joint record holders. Like City also hold that record currently against, I think Wolves did it to City in like, I don't know, decades ago. Anyways, I think that will be the starting lineup, but I wouldn't be surprised if Laporte and De Bruyne are both deemed fit enough for Pep. I think they have been training. I could see a slightly just like guns blazing sort of lineup. I could expect it to be De Bruyne and Laporte, and then all of our strongest players, so Mahrez and Sterling alongside Aguero. But overall, I don't think that's the right call, because we just need to rest these players. I think City are good enough to beat West Ham despite their form recently. like playing a couple of our bench players, and these guys are quality players, and they've shown that recently, so I think they should be given a chance. And these starters like Walker and Mahrez, who are mainstays, should get a little break, but I could see them being started by Pep because Pep just likes to win every single game, obviously. Looking at West Ham's lineup, I think it's kind of hard to predict. I think West Ham fans would probably struggle to predict it as well. I think Fabianski will be their goalie, obviously. I think they're gonna stick to this like 3/5 back formation they've been playing. It worked well enough against Spurs. They came back. I think they'll be high on confidence because of that comeback. So I think if it's not broke, you don't change things up. Moyes will go for the same sort of thing. He even mentioned that he's gonna be keeping Syed Benrahma like out of the like starting lineup for a while. I think he said he's gonna like ease him into it, which leads me to believe like he definitely won't start tomorrow. He'll probably be on the bench. I expect him to like come on as a sub because he's a new player and he's exciting. And if he was fit, I could see West Ham maybe going for like a 4-2-3-1 sort of thing, because you'd want to fit in like better, like more so wingers than wingbacks, or like midfielders that can also play wide like they do with Fornals. But I think instead it's going to be this like 3-5 back, as I mentioned. The three center backs is also hard to predict. I think Cresswell will be like the third like auxiliary center back. Then I think it'll either be Diop or Balbuena next to him. I think I'm going to go with Balbuena because he played the last game. And next to them will be Ogbonna. At right back, I think it's going to be, I think his name is Kufal or something like that. I don't know for sure his name, but he's looked decent. I've watched him a bit. I've seen like some of West Ham's games and he seems decent. Left back I think will be Masuaku. He's better in that like more attacking wing back role than defensively. And I think they've shown that having extra cover from a Cresswell playing as like that center back really helps Masuaku like thrive. And even if like Fredericks is fit, I expect that Kufal will keep his place. I think he's just like, he's more exciting, he's younger, I believe, and I think if his form's good, don't take him out of the team. I already mentioned Declan Rice will be one of their midfielders, and he's really industrious. He can get back, he can get forward. He mostly is like better, I think, defensively, but alongside Souček, both of them can get up and down. That's really a positive thing in this sort of like formation, because your wing backs and your midfielders, if they're both DMs or classically DMs, can all drop back if you need, and that's a lot of defensive cover. But if they're able to also run forward, that's also a lot of attacking threat from all over the field. Their forward line is a little hard again. I think Antonio's come back from an injury. He'll for sure start if he is fit. If not, I think Haller is also struggling with an injury, so I'm not sure who they go with. But overall, I'm expecting it to be Antonio. I could even see him scoring a goal. He's definitely the kind of player that scores against City. Big guy, fast, causes issues. Right mid, or like right wing for them, or like, I think it's more like I don't even know what position it is. I guess right mid, but they kind of do drop in or cut in. I think it'll be Jared Bowen. I think he's been incredible. And I think him on one side and Benrahma on the other with Antonio top seems really exciting for the future, but because Benrahma is not going to start, I think it'll be Fornals. And I think Fornals is really decent. I think he's kind of had a hard time playing out of position for West Ham, but over time I think he's going to find his feet. I think he's been starting to find his feet a little more. I think he'll show his quality because he showed how good he is in Spain. Just as like a note, I think one of them, if anybody is switched, it would be Fornals, could come out for Lanzini just because of the goal Lanzini scored. And plus Lanzini looked really good when he came on, but Moyes might want to like keep that same sort of effect. If you know somebody can have an impact from the bench, maybe you leave them as a bench player. It's also tricky though because you have somebody who has such clear quality. Maybe you just throw him into the team. And if he does come into the team, I think it'll be on that left side for Fornals. And he'll drift more inside, I think, than Bowen does. And I also think that he's really good in the like tight spaces, and I think he caused a lot of issues for Spurs, especially once Ndombele came off. I think they were able to get into that sort of space and create more chances, and that's how they got back into the game last week. Mentioning that result from last week against Spurs, I think, like I said before, they're going to have confidence, but also it means you can't underestimate them. If City do go like 2 or 3 up, the form can't dip. Like City as a team can't drop in pressure because West Ham have shown that they're capable of getting back into it. And as long as there's like a 2-goal or 3-goal margin in the game for them to come back, I think that they'll keep pressing hard, and it should be a really tough game. And I think it's going to be tougher than a lot of City fans are expecting. It's really easy to look at like odds and see that you beat this team 9 or 10 times in a row and go, it's just going to continue. But some of the signings they've made have developed more. I think they've got players on the bench that can cause issues coming off. I already mentioned Lanzini. They've also got Yarmolenko, who looked really good against Spurs as well, especially his like defensive work rate for somebody that's such a skillful winger to get back and like pressure. I think it was Bale for his shot is really impressive. Also Ben Rama. They'll have Noble as well potentially if they want to like switch the formation. And I think all of those options give them every chance to get back into the game should City take a lead. And I could even see them taking the lead, especially from corners. I've mentioned this before, City look a little bit weak from corners. Overall, our team's pretty short. And having Souček and Rice, if Diop plays, he's also very tall. Multiple center backs, Agbana, Antonio as well. All these players can score from a header, and I think City would struggle to mark them. I think Diaz will be really important if Laporte's back. He'll be important. In terms of play style, I think City will pass them off the park as per usual with City. I think we'll probably start really strong because we tend to in every game. I think if we get a goal early, it should like ease us a bit, but we can't get complacent. Like against Leicester or other teams, you can't just expect to win once you get that lead. So I think that it'll be a tough game, but I do expect City to score goals. I think I'm going to go for like a 3 or 4-1. I know I'm saying this will be a tough game and those seem like big scores, but I think it will be tough for a long time and City will eventually find a breakthrough moment and then continue scoring goals as West Ham try and put pressure on us. Spurs, while West Ham were pressing them at the end of that game, could have scored a couple of goals, and if their finishing had been better, if Bale maybe wasn't like so new to like everything, if he was maybe a bit more settled in the team, he probably would have put that chance away. And with City's like finishers, I think we will put chances like that away. So I think City will win. If West Ham did upset us, get a draw or something, playing really defensively, if they just counter us and get a couple of goals, I wouldn't be surprised or shocked. Like it could be like a 3-2, or they could like get a couple more goals. But I do just edge City. I think overall we're the better team. I think Aguero will probably be a little more rearing to get goals after scoring the penalty. I think he's going to be a little more like in the mood to score. Players like Foden or Ferran Torres, if they get the chance to impress, they're going to try really hard. They could get goals as well. And if Laporte is fit and De Bruyne is fit and they're not just kind of being rushed back and like they seem kind of like out of it when they do play, then I expect it to be way more comfortable. And if they do end up coming off the bench at some point, I expect City to just kind of take control of the game. Anyways, I hope I'm right. I'm going to be waking up very early to watch this game tomorrow. And I hope it's not City being really slow and putting me in a bad mood for the rest of the day. But as always, I'm excited for the game. If you watched all the way through, I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment what you think I could do better. If you have any like points you want to discuss with me, if you disagree with my lineups or anything like that. Subscribe for more soccer or football related content. It really means a lot to me, any sort of subscribers. Like I said, tomorrow I'm probably gonna have a match reaction to the City West Ham game. I'm gonna probably have a video up about Arsenal soon. I've already recorded that. As a City fan, of course, I focus more on Manchester City, but I do like to talk about other teams and other just like news in the football or soccer world. So if you want to see that, subscribe. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you all for watching. This has been Sleet, and I'll see you later.